All right, my people, how on our day? All right, make we yarn today. Today we go yarn. All right, so let's talk about what's going on because I want to discuss this topic, which I think is an ongoing issue as it relates to African Americans or Black Americans, I should say, and their disdain for Africans. This has been an ongoing thing, at least on YouTube, the YouTube world. I don't think that also translate to the real world. You could, but we're seeing it so pervasive on YouTube. So I want to discuss it because it's a topic that I think that is important for Africans, Nigerians in this case, to really understand where this is coming from. And I'm going to use this crazy woman that seemed to have a video that's been going around online. People have been commenting on this video. I took the time to listen to it to see if there was any merit or points to what she was making. No, she just ranted for 17 minutes. Didn't make any points. It was just a rant, virtual signaling. That's exactly what that was. A person who is part of the group that like to stoke division amongst Black people, right? They capitalize off of it. They monetize off of it. And what's shame about this crazy, dusty woman that I'm about to play for you is that her father, from what she said, her father is an immigrant. Her father. She didn't tell us where he's from, but I can guess that her father is Nigerian. Because she says that I come from Nigerian and Ghana. You know, she was very, very careful not to disclose the identity of the father because she had all that smoke for Nigerians. But I think her father is Nigerian, which would be a shame. But nonetheless, her father is from an African country. And to find a person like this, embarrass herself on camera, because it was hard for me to watch this, to watch a person, a Black woman, let alone a Black woman who comes from an immigrant family, who is African. You know how we are with Africa. You know, we're very, very conscious about how we display ourselves in public. Doesn't matter what African country you come from. If there's anything, we don't like to just air ourselves out there like that. To find out she comes from an African parent and she carries herself that way is, to me, appears to be that her father, her parents, I'm sure they taught her every good thing and how to portray herself in public. I'm sure they instilled that on her. But to see her behavior is exactly the type of problem that we see with a lot of people in society today. She demonstrates and she basically represents the Black Americans who are causing the demise of the African American community. See, when I think of her, I'm going to play the video because it was very embarrassing. I'm not going to play the whole 17 minutes because it was just a rant that it was hard to watch. And then on top of the fact that she wasn't making any points. She was just, again, there's no point to be made. When you hear the type of people like that, they don't have any points. When they have smoke for Africans and Nigerians, there's no point they're making. It's a tired old argument. Right? And I'm going to let you listen to a few minutes of it, and then we'll have a good conversation about it. I have no respect for Black Americans like her. I don't even have respect for most people that call themselves Black American. I have no respect for them. Because what's tied to that whole identity is exactly what this woman represents, which is a hate against the people that look like her, where her ancestors come from. And in this case, she's directly connected to a father who's from Africa, and she has the audacity to talk like that. If I was a father and my child, first of all, my child will never talk like that. It would be embarrassing for me to see that. But before we go into it, I want you to take a look at the clip because we're going to have a lot of conversation about it. And I'm going to dissect from the few minutes clips that I'm going to play for you. I'm going to dissect that, and I'm going to give you or larger context, as well as I'm going to intellectually educate her point by point, because she expressed her ignorance through this. And for me, it's an embarrassing thing. So take a look at this, and I'll be right back.
It's another day, another Karen. So I'm constantly having to battle Caucasians on one hand, and then now I have to battle Africans on the other. And you all know, listen, I love my Nigerian people. I am genetically Nigerian and Ghanaian. I just spent dirty December and just won't go home January in Ghana and Nigeria. And there's a pervasive thought that I continue to see over and over and over again. And that idea is that somehow there's something defunct and wrong with African Americans just because our trauma is different than your trauma. And as I was editing this video, I realized, listen, the only reason why your black ass would be able to come over to America and be able to do anything is because of the hard work, the blood, the sweat, the fighting, and the dedication of African Americans who on this soil changed this land. African Americans are the ones who got this country integrated. Let me explain something to you. White people in this country did not give us anything. We have had to take. And this is why you see what is going on in the news and the media right now. We took in the 1960s what it is that we had. We took their lynchings, their terrorizing, their burning down of our neighborhoods, and we continue to rebuild and revisit and retwist and re-rise up what it is that we have done in this country. And the only reason why anybody can bring their black ass over here from another mother effing country is because of what black Americans have done on this land. And I'm saying this as a person who is bicultural, whose father is not American, doggone it. My father is an immigrant, and he was able to come over to this country and do something in this country because of the black people who fought, who died, who bled, who were lynched on this land. So don't sit your black ass over there in some other goddamn country talking about what you would do in America. The only reason why your black ass can even get the F over here is because of what we have done. Doggone it. Listen to what it is that I'm saying. The reason why people are able to get onto the radios in America is because what black Americans have done, the culture that we have created with nothing. Nothing. We have been given nothing. Everything that we have in this country, we have because we have taken. Listen to what it is that I'm saying. So don't sit your black ass over there in your country where you're not doing what you need to do with your government. If anything, you should feel inspired by African Americans, inspired to pick up your picket sign and take your ass off your seat and go out there in the streets and protest in your damn land.
Okay, so let's discuss that, because again, like I said, she just went on and on for 17 minutes, didn't really make any vital points. She looked really, really bad and busted in that video. But let's talk about what she was trying to say, okay? Because one of the things about, this is why I don't have respect for people that call themselves Black Americans. And I will never have respect for them because I see them, to me, as the bottom of the bottom. Because the way they carry themselves, the way they make points, the way they argue things, their thinking is, to me, is obsolete and has no basis on anything that's merits, right? Here's the first point that I want to say with people like her who think like that, is that I call them cowards. That's the first, and this is why I don't have respect for them. I call Black Americans cowards. And the reason why I call them cowards is because the same energy and that smoke that you just saw her display, you would never find that. She would never display that against the Jewish people. You will find Black Americans that will say all day long, go back to your country and fix your country. But they would never. Why don't you go tell a Jewish person to go back to their country? Go to Tribeca in New York City or Chelsea Piers, where you find a lot of Jewish people. Go there and tell the Jewish people from Israel to go back to Israel and fix their country. Because the way they would make it look is that Africans are the only ones that migrate in this country. That's why I call them cowards. They would never have that same smoke for the Jews, who migrates in the thousands every year to the United States from Israel. Because they know the moment they do that, because they're not crazy. As much as she looks crazy in that video, she ain't crazy. Because she knows the moment she starts to have smoke for the Jews who migrate to this country, right? She knows that will be the end of her YouTube channel. She knows she would dare not, because that's why she's a coward. She and many like her, you'll find them. So that's one. They will never have the smoke for Jewish people who migrate here. So that's one of them. They will never have smoke for Chinese people. Okay? You will never see them talk about Chinese immigrants who again migrate to the United States in the thousands. According to Pew Research Center, Africans don't even make up the top 20 countries that people are migrating from. Africans don't make up. Nigerians alone are only 400,000 in this country. The community I live in, my subdivision, is 400,000 homes. So if we use this to represent Nigeria, is that the one that is causing you so much pain in your so-called country? But no, they won't have the smoke for Chinese immigrants who are migrating in the thousands and millions to the United States. No, because they're cowards. Okay, so let's talk about others. Ukraine, which is the most recent one. Ukrainians, ever since the war broke out against Russia, not only have they been bus loaded and brought into this country in the thousands, if not million. Our government, my taxpayer, her taxes, have gone to fund the war that no one voted for our government to go fund. Ukrainians are here. She would never have smoke, that energy and that the whole, foaming in the mouth and looking so dusty and busted like she is on camera. She would never have that for white Europeans. Let's talk about another one. Mexicans, right? Mexicans, which today are looking out for their friends from Venezuela. Mexicans are on the border. The whole border fight today, the whole situation that's happening at the border right now, is Mexicans looking out for Mexicans, looking out for Spanish people, Venezuelans, Mexicans. It's not new. It's always been going on. She would never have smoke for them. So that's why when it comes to Black Americans, I have no respect for them. I have no respect. I don't put Black Americans with African Americans. See, here's the virtual signaling. And you see her in that video conflate the two. She talks about African Americans, she talks about Black Americans. Please, let's not confuse the two. And she knows this. Black Americans and African Americans are not the same people. I have no respect for Black Americans because Black Americans have not done anything. The ones that I have respected, I have the highest respect for, that I even put above white people, African Americans. I'm not talking about the ones that are in the 80s and 70s. I'm not talking about those you might as well put them in the bucket with the Black Americans. I don't have no respect for them either. African Americans that she is trying to claim credit from, then they were not Black Americans. They were African Americans who in their Africanness, their African energy, their African spirituality fought for the pride and the stuff that she even enjoys today. They didn't call themselves Black Americans. As a matter of fact, the term Black Americans, let me help you understand this. Historically, this is not the first time that term has existed. As a matter of fact, when slavery ended in 1865, and African Americans, the 14th Amendment was passed in 1868, which is when the term American Negroes started. First it was Negroes, Black Negroes, and the term went into, Black Americans. There was a time that term Black American was used in the 1800s. African Americans who were enslaved, who were descendants from slaves, said no, they want to be African Americans. They don't want to be identified as Black Americans. That was what they said. The white folks didn't label them that. That was the label they chose. And because they wanted to identify and be part of a bigger thing than themselves. They wanted to be tied to a continent, right? To be part of a people larger than what was represented here in the United States. And they knew that their ancestry came from Africa. That was the kind of energy, the type of pride, and the type of spirit they had, which caused them to fight for the rights they fought in this country, which caused them to band together. It was that African spirit. It was that African unity that caused them. This is why I have no respect for the so-called Black Americans. These ones are trying to align with the same power structure that they hate. So you hear the same rhetoric every single time. And these ones, the archetype of these types are the ones that they single out Africans. They are anti-African. Well, who cares? And Nigerians in particular. And you know why that is? You know why they have smoke for Nigerians? Because in the 80s and 90s, the so-called Black Americans wanted to align with Mexicans. They didn't want to be part of Africa. That's where you started seeing that whole thing. They didn't call themselves Black Americans back then, but they were the anti-African rhetoric thing started in the late 80s, 90s. That's where that whole thing started. You know, when we would come up here, we try to align with them. They told us, no, we don't want to be part of you. That whole distancing themselves away from Africa really started in the mid 80s, going into the 90s. And so they aligned themselves with Mexicans. So you started to hear the Black and brown coalition thing. The reason why they're so angry is because Mexicans have left them in the trash. They're finally, their eyes have opened up that with the whole current migrant situation, they're seeing Mexicans looking out for their own people at the border and basically discounting their coalition with them. That's where the anger is. And so to them, they turn into us now and say, hey, can we not be, after they pushed us away, when we tried to be part of them, we came into their community, we tried to align with them. They didn't want to be part of us. They say, go away. They call us names. So we went away. And we went and built ourselves and united in ourselves. And now they say, oh, Africans don't want to be part of it. Which one is it? Lord Day, which one is it? You don't want me when I want to be part of you. You don't want me, and you attack me when I listen to you and say, okay, you don't want to be friends with me. I'll go here. Lord Day. And so because they chose and played the wrong cards with the Mexicans, and the Mexicans have left them in the wayside in the corner, and they're looking out for their own people, you find the constant anger against Africans, Nigerians in particular. Now let's talk about Nigerians in particular, because Nigerians are quickly gaining a lot of notoriety in this country. Africans are coming up here and they're dominating. Because Africans come up here with the right attitude, with right mindsets. So a lot of people choose the African to connect with than the one that think like these Black Americans. That is the fact. See, that's the part they won't tell you about. That's the part. It is the anti-toxic competitiveness, where someone who looks like you comes in because you thought you were the kid on the block. You know, you thought you were the kid on the block. And so you have another kid in the block that looks like you, and he is stronger, better, good looking, faster. He has a better attitude, and he's gaining more popularity. And now you hate on him because no one looks at you anymore. But you forgot that you told this kid when he was coming up to bid it. You told him you didn't want to be a part of him. You told him you treated him like trash. And so he persevered, and he became something of himself. And now you're mad. See, the whole immigrant conversation, it's when it comes to Black Americans, it's always against Africans. When this country was founded on immigrants, there is no one person today in the United States that wasn't born from an immigrant family. None. Do we want to go down the line? Who are we going to talk about? Who do we know are we going to talk about? Her. Look at her, for example. She was born to an immigrant family. Her father, she said it, her father is from Africa, right? And then when you look at even our politicians, the ones who also will stoke this division, Donald Trump, his wife and his kids, directly from an immigrant woman. Barack Obama, right? The beloved Barack Obama. Father's from Kenya. Kamala Harris, Indian. Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. Parents are immigrants. There is no one American today that's not from an immigrant family. But you wouldn't find these cowards have smoked for white European or Asians from either India. Indians migrated to this country from the thousands. You think you see them attacking Indians? That's why I have no respect for them, because they're cowards. Now, here is the conundrum that they face. It's going to get worse for these so-called Black Americans, because the political landscape and the geopolitical structure of the United States is changing. It was something when I was in my undergrad years ago, marketing, pursuing my bachelor in marketing. Back then, years ago, in our textbook, marketing textbook, they predicted what we're seeing right now. I remember reading about it in my marketing book, that it said by 2050, United States will be way different. It'll be more immigrants in the United States than native-born Americans. What we're seeing today was something that studies have predicted long ago. And so what you're seeing with with Black Americans, or even the African Americans who have the same crazy mindset like this one, can you throw them in the bucket? Is that they're seeing the walls closing on them. They have no allies because they alienated everyone. They had smoke for everybody. People like her. They attacked white people, so they didn't align themselves with what their ancestors banded together. You see, their ancestors aligned with the African spirit, which is why they were. Let's look, for example, the Black Panther. The Black Panther Party, which she is going to hey, yeah, we were this or that. The Black Panther Party wore their Africanness to the core with pride. That's why they had the afro. Where do you think that came from? They had dashikis and all of that. They protected their community because the understanding and what they clinged to was that Africa was a community and Africa looks out for Africa. So they led with that, which is how the slaves also were banded. They were all united. Is that African spirit, which is why many Africans unite. And they know this. When you look at Nigerians go to any community, they're looking for a Nigerian. Where's the Nigerian church? You go to any, where's Redeem? You go anywhere. Where's the Redeem church? You go to Redeem, you'll find all your Nigerians there. Where is each every Nigerian? Because that is the community. We come from a community-based environment. That is what the Africans who were sold in this country. That is how they were able to stay united. That's how they were able to build communities once upon a time, because they were united. It's the Africanness in them. The moment they detached from that, which to me, I put the mid-70s as that timeline, is where you see the dysfunction and the deterioration of the so-called Black American. They trend in everything negative. Let's look at it. Family structure. The most broken homes in the United States today are Black American homes. You don't find that trend with Africans who are here. We go through the same challenges too. I mean, to white people, when they look at my skin color, they don't know where I'm from, unless I open my mouth. And the many Nigerians are here. Most of us don't have an accent, so most of them don't even know the difference between Nigerian Americans and African Americans. They don't. But you don't find Nigerian American household having the exact same statistics with the Black American home. Because we go through the same challenges, but we handle that differently, is the mindset. Murder rates. The highest murder rates per capita is in the Black American community. You don't find that in any other community. job, wages. When you look at wages and how people are paid, we're talking about black people. When you measure black people against each other today, we're not talking about white folks. Because white folks, they discriminate against all of us. We're all in the same boat, right? We're all in the same boat. But when you measure immigrants in this country, they're the highest paid. Koreans are one. Indians are two. You put Chinese up there. And then you have Africans, number 4. Now, why are Africans high? Some people even say Africans out-earn in some areas white people. Why do you have Africans there in a country that you have 13% African Americans or Black Americans? Why are Africans who are, especially Nigeria, 400,000 in population, why are they out-earning African Americans or Black Americans? It's the mindsets. White folks ain't treating us any different or better. If anything, we have to go through, someone like me, I have to go through twice as much challenge to earn what I've earned because, one, I have a black skin color and I have an accent. So in my career, I've had to fight twice as much to gain what I have in this country. And I've gone through the same challenges like people like her boast about. But it's a mindset. That's the difference. Because I choose to keep my Africanness and connect with my African identity, which allows me to have a better attitude, better disposition, seek family, seek community, behave properly. Like I won't come here on TV or on camera and bust it like she is, That causes you to gain more opportunity. People will always give opportunity to people who they like and people who come off to be friendly. It's just the way it is. It doesn't matter what part of the world you live in. You could be in Nigeria and isolate yourself and no one want to deal with you. You could be in the midst of all black people and be anti-friendly and you're not going to succeed. So that attitude transcends just being in America. So that's one. So they're paid lower because most times it's because of their attitude. It has nothing to do with the skin color. When it comes to skin color, we all are getting shafted. All of us, whether you are Nigerian, we all are getting shafted. But when you measure all black people up against each other, they are at the bottom of the totem pole. Because it has to do with attitude. And then when you talk about education, they don't trend up there with education. I did a video a couple of years ago when my channel first started, where I debunked the whole notion that black women were the most educated in the United States. That was a lie. That was a lie. And I talked about how they are using 2 academic years. And if you've gone to school, you know what academic years are. Academic years are not calendar years. Academic year are not the same with calendar years. Your academic year could be fall, summer and fall, or fall and spring. Those are academic years. They're usually like 10 months out of the year, so they're not the same. So there were 2 academic years, 2010 and 2015, that studies show, and they saw a spike with black women earning bachelor's degree. And that was about it. And black women use that and run to today. You'll find black women telling you that they're the most educated. When you think about it, and then they will tell someone like me who was educated and went through an educational institution like college, who knows how to reason, to be like, hold on a second, you are more educated than the 66% of population, which are white and black, white men and white women. Of course not. You're much educated than Asians, who are 5% of the population. They're more now. And they hold the highest number of degrees in terms of doctorate degrees. Of course not. But they use that. And that's the thinking. So they don't trend in that area. And so that's why when I look at that group and I say, what are you so prideful of? You like, what are you talking about? Which is why I'm saying that if you are African American, you want to distance yourself from being called Black American, because that is killing your whole community. But that's your problem. Who cares? Who gives a shit? That mindset is pulling you down, and it's going to get worse, because what you're seeing in America today is that there's a geopolitical shift. There are more migrants coming in. It's going to be that way all the way through 2050 and beyond. So her thinking, she is going to be so isolated that it's going to be against public policy or public guideline for you to come out and talk about migrants like this. Watch, we're about to get to that point. Because when you look around, you're going to be seeing nothing but migrants. I mean, that's the way it is right now. So it's what's called virtual signaling. They can't fight the ones that are really causing the demise in their community. So they'll pick on Africans because they think Africans are just the weak ones. No, we're not. And Africans are creating associations. Like when you look at the Association of Black Doctors, you have Nigerians. There's an association of Black doctors in the United States, started by Nigerians in the country. Why? Because Nigerians are the highest doctors in terms of Black in the United States. That is not something she can fake. And then here's the last point I want to make, and I will close. And I think it's important for us now to begin holding the type of her thinking accountable for the mess that Africa is in. Here's what I mean by that. You'll find the likes of her run her mouth and talk about how Africans should fix Africa. Okay? Africans are running away from Africa. The reason why Africa is where it is today is because her government, her country, the one that she wants to defend so much, stole from Africa to aid and fund the welfare program, a lot of the program that she benefits from. And if she doesn't benefit from it, people around her benefit from it. The country that she lives in, because it's about time that we need to point this out, because when we talk about the U.S. robbing Africa, we somehow use and we exempt Black Americans from beneficiaries of that robbery. But they will use the same thing to make us feel less than and guilty. You can't have it both ways. See, they want to be African when they want to go, they want to side with Africa and talk about their country where they want to go up against their own country. Right? When they want to talk about the white man and all that, they want to be like, oh, we're Africans and we all, yeah, they will use that. But then they want to switch quickly when they want to talk about Nigerians in Africa and they want like, oh, we're Americans and we built our own country. You can't have it both ways. Which one is it? Because you're either an American who built your country, who stole from Africa and left Africa desolate and sanctioned African leaders who dared to push back against the policy of your government so they can steal the resources of Africa and fund your community. So you are a part of the thievery that occurred. Because if we go around and use Africans that you're talking down about, they can't fix the country. How are they supposed to fix it? Because the moment they push back on your government, they push back at your government, which you've done in the past. Your government assassinates African leaders and leave them in desolate so they can fund your community and fund you and keep you comfortable. The electricity that you enjoy today comes from uranium resources. You don't produce that in your country. They get it from Africa. So you're able to power your country, and Africa stays in darkness. The coltan on your so-called computer, the one that you use to edit your videos, or the computers you get, your MacBooks, your PC computers, the coltan is called from Congo. Congolese children, men and women, are killed every day, left wasteland, robbed, so that way you can have fancy computer that you go buy from the Apple store or places like that so you can come and talk trash on YouTube. Yes, that's from Africa. If you didn't have that country, you wouldn't have this to talk nonsense on. Your fuel, you can power your cars today. Your gas are all robbed from Africa at pennies on the dollar, from countries like Nigeria, from many other countries, who their stuff and the resources were robbed from so you can power your cars. And these are just a few of minerals that Africans was robbed from so that way African Americans and Black Americans can live nicely with their lazy self and have the audacity to come to us and talk about that we can't build our own country. And the moment we try to keep your government out, to leave us to build, they assassinate our leaders. You and your government are part of that whole conspiracy. Yeah. See, that's the part they don't want to talk about. Because they want to hide and use the United States government and put the white face up there and say they're the ones doing this. All the crimes and the genocide that have occurred outside of the four walls of the United States in other countries, which has destabilized many countries, whom their citizens are coming up here as a result of those sanctions, as a result of those destabilization, so that way you can benefit, so that way you can live nicely with your lazy self. And now you have the audacity to now talk back at them coming to tap into the resources that your government stole from their country. What audacity. See why I say they don't have no brains. That's why she didn't make any points. Because when we really need to have those conversations, you find that they are complicit in that. Because all those resources from Africa here benefited their community, benefited who they are, so you can live nicely and then look down on you and tell you to go fix your country. How am I supposed to fix my country when your country puts a gun on in our government and say, hey, you can't sell this more than what we've talked about, otherwise we assassinate you. Tell me, how am I supposed to fix my country? Because if I use that same argument against African Americans in this country, in many instances, people will look at me and say, oh, you're so insensitive. Do you not know what they were up underneath? Do you not know what challenges they were put under? Yeah. So I'm supposed to be empathetic to your plight, which I am, but then allow you to look down on where your ancestors come from. You're a shameful person. That's why I have no respect for Black Americans. My respect is for African Americans, the ones that existed, that built and fought for something in this country. Tell me what you're fighting for. But they're running your mouth and talking nonsense on camera, looking dusty doing it too. So, final thought. So my Nigerians and Africans, separate yourself. The best thing you can do for yourself is listen to what they said when they said, beat it. Don't come around our community. Yes, don't. Because they have nothing, with that mindset, nothing to offer. No one wants to align with a Black American. None. No one. I don't know any. Because it's full of hate and rhetoric. It's a blame mentality. It's a victimization mentality. They're not the same stock of African Americans who fought and bled, who aligned themselves with their Africanness to call themselves African Americans, which gave them the pride and the strength to fight the power structure in this country. Those are the ones that I align with. Those are my ancestors that I celebrate, not this lazy, not so good individuals who want to blame everyone. Well, look at the man in the mirror. So I suggest you look at the man or the woman in the mirror for pointing and casting blame on others. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Please like this video, share this content, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time.
Det finns ingen annan där som kan stå här by my side, oh why. Sättet du rör på det får mig att dö för dig baby. För de här yardis, de vill ju bara dra ner oss. Men du är fett och vanlig. På det jag lägger all min tid och jag vill ha dig. Du får mig känna safety. Det kan nog leda baby. Och jag kommer aldrig ändra.